Hello boys and girls, we'll be talking about pugging in World of Warcraft today. In this video I'll share some lessons learned and how you should be approaching keys in pug so you don't get burned out, you don't get angry, and ultimately succeed playing the game with people that you've never met and you don't know. I did name the video pugging to 3k, which is something I've managed to do on different characters and different seasons now. Not very amazing actually, that's not even close to a title, but what I'm going to share with you in this video is going to apply to every key level and all kinds of pugs. The usual disclaimer applies, I'm not the best player in the game, but I managed, so hopefully what I'm going to share with you is also going to be helpful to you in your keys. And with that said, the very first thing that I'm going to advise you, if you can actually find a team. I've played in few organized groups few times and it's so much easier to handle the dungeons, to communicate and navigate everything. It's so much better if you have the option to do that, but I'm actually somebody who plays in some very weird times, so it's very hard for me to maintain and find 4 people to play with me all the time. So I'm basically stuck pugging all of my keys, and if you're doing that as well, you should know something very important: there are no shortcuts. If you have a team, you can do higher keys and you can probably skip few levels, but if you're pugging, nobody's going to take you for keys that you haven't proven yet that you're ready for. In other words, be prepared to do all the keys first at like +5, then at +10, +15, and then the margins get smaller and smaller, do all 16s, all 17s, and then push as high as you can get, depending on your goals, whether if it's all +15s, all +20s, or even more. So once your mind is content with that and you're ready to go into the pugs, I'll share with you 5 steps or 5 rules that you need to follow in order to succeed. The first 2 are pretty straightforward, but I think they're very important to mention. First, you need to learn your class and then you need to learn the dungeons. When running M+ dungeons, you'll be faced with all kinds of different situations, so you need to know what buttons your class has, what CDs do you have, when do you need to press them to survive, and what mechanics and abilities you need to be watching for and avoiding so you don't end up dead. Watching videos is a great way to actually achieve some basic level of knowledge, but keep in mind that the more keys you run, the more you're going to learn. Every new run basically teaches you something new. And also keep in mind that running low keys is fine to learn the basics, but they're not going to teach you how to do higher keys, because the demand and the requirements there are much higher. You most certainly have to play differently and more carefully, you have to use different abilities into different times, so just keep that in mind. And then we get to the most important part: how are you going to handle everything that happens to you in M+, including the people inside of those runs? If you want to succeed, and most importantly, if you want to have fun in the game, you need to have the correct mindset in order to achieve that. Otherwise, you just struggle and you'll be very disappointed and you easily get angry, and this is not something that should happen when you're playing a video game for fun. Now, in order to achieve this positive mindset, the very first thing that you need to accept is that you are not going to time every key. Now, that could be your goal, that's a very good goal, but you have to keep in mind that we're human, so people will make mistakes and you will make mistakes as well. The higher the key level goes, the more costly those mistakes are going to be, and inevitably some of the keys will just be depleted. So again, the very first thing for you is to accept that those things are going to happen, but when they happen, instead of getting angry, you should instead use them as a learning experience. When things go wrong, it will get you a long way if you just stay calm and try to analyze the situation. If you find out that you made a mistake, now you can learn and watch for something to not do and repeat again. If it turns out that somebody else did a mistake, you can take a mental note so you don't do the same thing next time, but you can also think of, is there something that you could have done to salvage their mistake and save the situation? That could give you some very good ideas of different order and different skills that you can be pressing in different situations. And this is also a very good way to train your brain to react and handle unexpected situations, which is inevitably going to make you a better player overall. And once you accept that mistakes are going to happen and you are going to learn from them, your mindset going into dungeons should be just, I am going to go in there and play my best game. If mistakes happen, I'll handle them, and if it goes really south, then you have next key. I also think it's very important to mention here that you should not be counting on queuing with people which are much higher IO than yours. If you think about it this way, if their IO is much higher, whatever key you're going to be playing with them is going to be a low key for them, which means that they will be not motivated to pay too much attention because for them, they know that this is an easy key. So quite often they end up playing really bad and doing much more mistakes than they would usually do in their keys, and much more mistakes compared to the lower IO people. Of course, if you get a chance to queue with higher IO people than you, take it, you're probably going to learn a lot, but keep your expectations low so you don't get disappointed. And from my personal experience so far, the best success that I had was when I was pushing for IO, I was queuing with people who are in my range and had a similar score. That basically means that they approach the key the same way as you are, it's an important key for them, it's an IO score, and they really want to time it. So the same as you are, they're motivated to put their best foot forward, and they should have the same level as experience as they went to basically the same things as you did to get to this point. And I guess the last thing to mention connected to the mindset is be prepared that it's going to be hard. The higher keys that you push, the more difficult it becomes, and also the queue times for getting into a pug become bigger and bigger. So you need to be realistic with the goals that you're setting. If you decide to push for a very high IO, you should be prepared to stay for hours in queue to get into a pug, and then just play for 5 minutes, somebody makes a mistake, wipes the key, and you have to repeat the same process over and over again. Unfortunately, this is how the pug life in WoW goes. And then we get to the point where we must mention something that happens in the game. How do you going to handle the toxicity that's going to be in the pugs that you're going to be playing with? Because not everybody has a positive mindset, and some people are, let's face it, just bullies. The moment somebody makes a mistake, everybody else turns on that person from the group, and some very unpleasant conversations unleash. Now, the best advice that I can give you in those situations is just keep the communication as little as possible, or even better, don't engage into those conversations at all. Keep in mind that you're not going to time the key if you're typing in party chat, you're going to time the key if you're pressing your buttons and playing the dungeon correctly. If somebody makes a mistake, correcting them is not going to help you because the mistake already happened. Everybody gets tense because they realize that maybe the key is now bricked, so somebody saying something could be the last spark that flames everything out. But that person probably already knows that they made a mistake, so they'll probably try to play better, and if they don't, then you saying something is not going to make them better players anyway. If it's you who made a mistake and you realize that, you can just type in chat, "Sorry, my bad," but there's no need to explain anything. And one thing that I like to say here is, let your actions speak for you. If you play well, at the end of the dungeons, you might get congratulated by your teammates and say nice healing, nice DPS, etc. And then if you like them, you can actually add them to your friend list. That happened to me many times, and I ended up playing with some people into several different keys, one after another, without anyone saying anything inside of the party chat. So my advice here is just try for that, and keep in mind that whatever you say in party chat is probably not going to change anything in the group, and if you end up playing with people that you don't like, after the key is over, bricked or not, you will probably never see those people again. So don't waste your energy and nerves trying to make them better players, because probably you're not going to succeed anyway. And then the last piece of advice is just keep playing and doing the keys. You're going to learn more, you're going to become a better player, and that rating is not going to come by itself. You actually have to go into those dungeons and eventually time them. If you're lucky, you're going to make some friends along the way, and keep in mind that if things go south, there's always next key. And I would also advise you to reflect on yourself, and if you see that you're not following those rules and things are going south and you're getting angry and obnoxious, then you can actually take a small break. This will refresh your mind, put you in a better state, and you can even skip like a very bad affix week or something, and then you can come back with full refreshed batteries and start all over again. So those are the main tips that I have for you if you decide to pug Mythic Plus dungeons in World of Warcraft. Of course, don't forget that the most important thing is to have fun. So in my opinion, having this learning mindset and positive attitude is going to help you a long way achieving that goal. During that process, you'll probably become a much better player yourself, but keep in mind that the learning never stops. Even if you become the best player in the world in your own class, you can always go and learn another class and another role, because then you know better how to handle situations in the dungeons in synergy with your teammates. And then World of Warcraft is a game so big and so complex that it's constantly changing, so you need to keep this learning mindset to stay on top of the wave. So I hope you managed to find some useful information in this video, and do let me know in the comments below what are your tips and your advices for handling pugs in World of Warcraft. Thank you very much for watching, stay happy, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next video.